Today on the pod, we have somebody who built a painting business on the marketing strategy of fridge magnets. Today we have Tim Fitzpatrick on the pod. It's the second time we've actually had him on. I just messed up the footage from the first interview, and he was gracious enough to let me come back and re-interview him. So, Tim, welcome to the Merchandise
Thanks.
Show.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Round
Yeah.
two.
You guys are celebrating 30 years this year.
Yep, that's right. September, 30 years, September. So this month.
All right.
Yeah.
September. Do you have a specific day, or you just
I don't
the
know
whole
what
month
year
of
I got my
September?
contractor's license in September of 1994.
Oh wow! All
Yeah.
right. Did you ever dream that your business would grow to be this size?
No, I did not.
What was the vision for Fitzpatrick Painting when you first
Yeah,
started? Maybe.
my dream as a 19-year-old was to make $100,000 a year
Okay.
and to own a boat and either live on a lake or have access to a lake. That was my dream. I remember when I got my contractor's license, I was driving a 1983 Ford F-150 with a pinstripe racing stripe down the side, an old canopy on the top. And I remember vividly driving down Walnut Boulevard. And I remember seeing, I don't remember what the contractor was, whether it was a roofing company but I remember seeing another contractor driving a nice vehicle. And I thought, why would anybody ever spend money on a nice vehicle for your business? Like, buy a nice car, but
Yeah.
buy a nice truck or a nice van for your business. Here we are 30 years later, and we've got a fleet of, I couldn't even tell you how many vehicles, 50 plus vehicles running around out there. So yeah, that was my dream. I wanted to make 100 grand a year, $2,000 a week. I figured if I make $2,000 a week, and that was gross. I didn't even know anything about net income or
Oh.
P&Ls or balance sheets or any of that sort of thing. So obviously we've come a long way. It's been fun.
How many of those dreams have come true?
Every single one.
You have a boat, and do you have a lake house?
No, we don't have a lake house, but we have a boat, and no, I don't live on a lake. But I have access to public lakes just like everybody else and their brother does.
Nice.
Yeah, so we take our boat to Green Peter. Shasta is my favorite place to vacation with the boat, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's interesting that you say like you didn't have like a specific dream in mind or like a specific goal that you're trying to accomplish with like Fitzpatrick Painting. I mean, other than like personal stuff that you wanted to accomplish, but like, has that changed at all? Like, do you guys have a specific mission that you're working toward now?
Yeah, obviously the goals have changed significantly over the years. Our mission has changed. My goal, I didn't have written goals for years. I mean, honestly, it wasn't until probably the last 5 years that I actually started writing out my vision, my goal, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, what that would look like. But it's definitely changed. There was a large season where it was just grow, grow, grow. And then as we grew, we got to the point where we're at now, or close to, I don't know, a few years ago, that that changed again. And fast forwarding to where we are now, my mission, my vision, my goal, I have personal goals as far as where I want to be, at end of this year, end of next year, 3 years, 5 years, so on and so forth. But the mission and the vision for the company has changed entirely. I now have a team of over 100 employees that work for us. So my goal, Tommy Mello actually put it best. He said, make your dream so big that everybody else's dreams can live inside of it.
Oh wow.
And I love that. And that's what I try to do for my team, is to make my dream, make this company so big that all of my players, whatever their dreams, whatever their aspirations are, they can live inside of that dream. So we've been working on that, working on a lot of the upper management, what their ambitions, what their goals are, and then moving on down the ladder.
That's interesting that you say that. I've never heard that saying before. Make your dreams so big that everybody else's dreams could fit inside them. I remember you talked about employees in the last time we talked, and you said that you care about your employees, you take good care of your employees to the point that you've actually fired some of your customers.
Yep.
Talk about that a little bit.
Not everybody is a good fit. Um, I think what you're referring to, if I remember correctly, is I used to think that the customer comes first. The customer doesn't come first. Sorry if any of my customers are watching this. You come second. My employees come first.
Yeah.
And there's been some times in the past, and I can't remember exactly. Well, I can remember one incident, but I won't share it. But if we have a customer that's disrespecting, or a customer that's maybe being, making racial slurs or whatnot, that sort of thing, we don't tolerate it. We stand up for for our employees first, and then the customer second. If without my employees, did I say that backwards? You can rewind the tape and find out. But employees first, customers second. Without our employees, we wouldn't have customers. And the better we can take care of our employees, the better our employees take care of our customers. If we try
Yeah.
to take care of our employees very, very well, and we forget about our employees, our customers and our employees both will be the ones that suffer.
Yeah.
But if we can take care of our employees very well, and they know that we take care of them very well, and we know that they come first, then our customers are going to have a great experience.
So, like, how do you actually implement that? Because if you go on LinkedIn or these other, like professional places where people talk and have discussions online, like everybody's complaining about, oh, the boss said, we're all one big happy family, but, don't actually take that seriously because, you know, it's not family, it's a job, right? So how do you actually implement? It sounds like you're taking very good care of your employees to the point like I get the feeling like you are kind of a family here at Fitzpatrick. Like this is our people. If you want to deal with us, like you have to meet a certain criteria.
Yeah, yeah, it's easy. You live it. You have to
Okay.
live it. Yeah. And it took me, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing in that. I've still got a long ways to go. I've got all these ideas about things that I can do for my employees and make their experience here even better. But you have to live it. Uh, just saying that we put the employees first means absolutely nothing. You have to do that. How do you do that? You do that obviously by the way you treat them. I think their pay is part of it, but that's a small part of it. The number one reason why employers leave their job is not money. It's because of their supervisor. That's the number one reason why. So, if we had the mindset, well, let's just make sure we pay all of our employees fair and give them that dollar raise when they ask for it, and we think, well, we're taking really good care of our employees. No, we've completely missed the boat. They need to know. There has to be substance there that they know, like, okay, these guys, Tim, management team, they really do care about me, not just as a number, but as an individual. We care about their personal life. You do that by celebrating things, celebrate their birthdays, celebrate their anniversaries. They have a new baby. I've got books on my bookshelf, and I give all of the new parents. I forget what the name of the book is right now. I could grab it. We give them this nice little book when they have a baby. We cook breakfast for our crew leads every single week. I invite them over to the house. We've had a pool party at the house this last summer.
Your personal house?
My personal home. Yep. I haven't yet invited the entire company. I'm a little nervous to do that. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
that's for another podcast maybe. But yeah, invited them all over to my personal home and had a great time. We do all kinds of stuff. We do casino night here at the office upstairs, where we have an outside agency come and they set up all the poker tables and blackjack tables and whatnot. And we have a fun raffle and give away all kinds of prizes and whatnot. I've got a sitting over there on the shelf. It's a moneymaker. See that thing that looks like it's gold
Oh yeah.
up
Yep.
top? It's actually just made out of plastic, but you fill that thing with whatever denomination of bills you prefer. I prefer hundreds and fifties.
Yeah.
And at our all staff meetings, we have monthly all staff meetings. I don't pull it out every month. They never know when is Tim going to pull it out, when is he not. But my team knows you show up early and you sit in the front row, because that moneymaker doesn't shoot the bills past about maybe 5, 6, 8 feet. So if you're not in the front two rows, whatever's coming out of that machine, you ain't getting nothing. So, there's so many different things. I could literally spend the rest of the time talking about our employees and how we make their experience better. One of our core values, encouraging personal and professional growth. It's not just something that we put on the wall, but it's something we live. And it comes down, it starts with me at the top. If they can't see that Tim is actually growing personally, professionally, I didn't include spiritually in that, although I wanted to, but we live in the world we live in. So, but they know my views very, very well. And they have to see that. They have to see that, okay, Tim is actually growing. He's growing personally. He's growing professionally. He's growing individually. He's growing spiritually. And then I pass that on to them. I give them a talk every month. It could be a 2-minute talk. It could be sometimes a 15 or 20-minute talk on different topics. This last month it was on living with intention and what does it mean to live with intention, to live with purpose. So I know that was a long answer to your question about the employees and how we put them first, but that's just a snippet of some of the things we do. We give them 401k. We give them a healthy, no pun intended, a healthy health insurance plan. They all have health insurance, and we're actually having conversations about even upping that and making it even more attractive for them.
Wow.
Yeah. So
If you do too much self-development with them, aren't they just going to go maybe start their own businesses?
that has happened, and it will continue to happen. Last I counted, I think there was 20 plus companies in the Willamette Valley that used to work for me at one time or another.
Really?
Yeah, and it's probably way over that now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 30 or 40. There's a lot of companies in the valley that used to work for me. So there's two different ways you could look at that. You could look at one angle. You train your employees. How's the saying go? You train your employees so well that if they left, they could start their own company. But you treat them so well that they never would. There's that balance. I mean, it's free enterprise. And it used to really bother me when someone would come in and they would work for me, and then a year, 2, 3 years later, and they're also like, oh, there's company X, Y, or Z. Dang it.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me anymore. All ships rise with a rising tide, right? So if you come in and you work for me for however long you do, and you open up shop down the road, we're still going to be here. We're still going to be relevant. We're still going to continue to grow, and you're probably going to grow too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about that. If I worried about that, I wouldn't. It would consume all of my time. I don't worry about what my competitors are doing. I'm aware of who my competitors are and what they're doing, but we don't worry about that. We don't focus on our competitors. We don't focus on their marketing, their pricing structure. We focus on our marketing, our pricing structure, our systems, our processes, our people, and we let our competitors do what they're going to do, and it works very well. We continue to grow significantly.
Do you think that's because you're at the stage where you don't have to, or do you think like somebody coming in as a new painting business into the area, like, do you think they're going to pay attention a lot more to their competitors, or would, I guess, just advice from you to, doesn't have to be a painting business, but just a new business owner, like, are you going to focus on your competitors a lot, or are you just going to focus on your own stuff as a brand new business?
I think that's what a lot of new businesses end up doing, whether it's another painting company, construction, roofing, so it doesn't matter, fill in the blank. I think a lot of business owners, they do focus on what's the next guy doing, what's the bigger companies doing, and there's some things that that can be learned by that. But I think if you're focusing on what the other company is doing and not focusing on your own company, your own branding, your own marketing, you're missing the boat. I actually remember this. This is going back quite a few years. It was back when I was still in the field doing estimates, so it was at least 12 years ago. But I remember sitting in a customer's living room here in Albany, and I had just given him my proposal, and there was another company, of course, I'm not going to mention the name of the painting company, that had given them a proposal as well. And the customer looked at me and he said, Tim, who's copying who? Because this other company had literally copied. I mean, their proposal, their presentation, everything looked identical to Fitzpatrick's, because they literally went, oh, well, what's Tim doing? All right, that's what Tim's doing. Okay, we'll just copy that and we'll be successful too. So, I think that there are some things that you can learn, obviously, from what other businesses are doing. But if a business is fooled by thinking that they can just go in and emulate exactly what another business is doing, they will have some form of success, but they won't have their own brand. They won't have their identity.
Oh,
You're going to be attached to the identity of said company that you're copying. So
yeah.
I think there's that balance. Do you want to pay attention to your competition? Yes, most definitely. And I was guilty of it myself. I mean, I was the small dog at one point, and I remember like literally, it's like, oh, this guy's doing a door hanger. Okay, I'm going to do door hangers or whatever it was. I was smart enough to not copy the. There weren't really any other large painting contractors in the area to copy actually. But business is business. So whether you're emulating, copying, call it what you want. Whether it's a painting contractor or roofing or siding, there's definitely a lot to be learned from that. But there's a balance.
All right.
Yeah.
Where did the fridge magnet idea come from? Because that's how I found out about
Well,
you.
that was way back in the day. I don't know who's listening to this podcast, but there used to be a thing called phone books, and they were
Yellow pages.
they were yeah, yellow pages. It was a huge form of marketing back in the day. And I remember we would you'd meet with your Dex yellow page rep. He'd come to my office and we'd settle on terms for the size. Is it a half page? Is it a full page? And then I would wait with anticipation, and I'd get the phone book and I'd open it up to painting contractors immediately to see what all my other competiters did. Did they do a half page? Did they do a full page? And that was a big deal. The magnets. It was my yellow page rep presented it to me, and it was pretty expensive. I don't remember what we paid for it, but it was not cheap. And I do remember a lot of my family members, friends, business colleagues, you name it, they're like, Tim, what are you doing? Like, you're paying that much for magnets? Like, bro, you're wasting your money. Uh, I proved them wrong. We did that silly little magnet thing for probably 6 or 7 years, and it was when our kids were younger. Now I should probably bring back the magnets, but there's no phone book, so we can't do
Right,
that. But
right.
our kids are now 23, 20, and 16. And when we started those magnets, Brenny was probably 2, and Devin was 5 or 6, and Kate was 7 or 8. So, they were kids, and we would put the picture of the family
Yeah.
on the magnet. And I can't tell you how many times I would go into customers' homes or into businesses, and they would have the Fitzpatrick family picture on their refrigerator, on their file cabinet.
Yeah.
And it was a great marketing piece. It's a great marketing piece. If you've got a beautiful family, use them. Use them for marketing. I get to use my family for marketing in a different way now, but I haven't. Devin, he's now working in the company. He's one of the
Okay.
estimators. He's been in the company for over a year now. Kelly works in the company, so it's very shortly here. I don't know that the whole family will ever be in the company. Maybe Kate will someday join us. Maybe not. Brendan has aspirations to be in the company, but when you can make that connection with your customers, they want that personalized touch. So it doesn't matter how big you grow. We've grown significantly, right, in the last 30 years. We're technically not categorized as a small business anymore, but we still give that personal touch. When our customers hire Fitzpatrick, they still get the feeling of a small business. They still get the feeling of someone who cares, not some large corporation organization, other than maybe our billing, because our billing is just kind of, we'll work on that. So
Something to
if
work
any of
on.
my customers are watching this, I apologize for our billing. We're working on it.
Oh, it's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I don't remember any other contractors from the phone book back then. I just remember, the phone book arrives and there's just one random magnet floating around in there, and it was Fitzpatrick Painting.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I started this podcast. It was just one of the first thoughts was like, yeah, Fitzpatrick. He's been around a while. He'd be a good interview. So
Yeah, yeah,
so that's why we're here.
yeah.
Did you ever wish, or I guess maybe the first question would be, would you consider yourself a high performing person?
Yes, most
Okay.
definitely.
Do you ever wish, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day. Do you ever wish that you weren't a high performing person, or like didn't have so much ambition? Maybe you're like, would be happy to just be an employee for somebody else.
No, no.
You never wished for that?
I've never wished that. No, I'm not wired that way. I love being a high performing individual. My father-in-law and dad, if you ever watch this, I apologize to you as well. I love you, Dad.
What is this, an apology video?
Yeah, I guess just apology videos. Apologizing to everybody, but my father-in-law, he lives down in Arizona. He's coming in tomorrow, and
Okay.
he'll be here for the week. And I mean, he gives me such a hard time all the time about, oh, Tim, you never rest. You're just going and going and going. It's this and it's that. Like I leave I leave town, and it's like, oh, I gotta take a vacation from being at Tim's house, and he razzes me about it, but I love that. Like that's
Yeah.
my Sunday afternoon relaxing is not sitting on the couch watching TV. A relaxing Sunday afternoon for me is having a list of tasks, chores, you name it, typically around the house, and checking those off because that's what brings me enjoyment. It doesn't bring me enjoyment to sit around and do nothing
Yeah.
or not have anything to do. I get fulfillment out of building things, out of growing things. When I was a kid, I would build forts. I would bake bread and sell bread. I would sell newspapers. That was what gave me motivation. And then you take that into your adulthood. Now I'm building a company.
Yeah.
I will continue to build this company. I will continue to build my business. I invest in real estate as well. That's a passion of mine. I will continue to invest in my real estate portfolio, not because I have to, but because I want to and because I enjoy doing that. I
Yeah.
mean, I hope God willing, if I make it that far, 70, 75, 80-year-old man, I'm not going to be sitting in a lawn chair eating bonbons. That's not my
Yeah.
idea of fulfillment. That's not my idea of retirement. Yeah, definitely. I want to travel more with Kelly, my wife. But yes, I am definitely an overachiever, overperformer. And if that ever changes, then please, everybody who knows me well, come razz me up, beat me down.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've always been kind of like an entrepreneurial person,
Yeah, I
or is
have.
it just like a self-starter, more like?
I've always been a self-starter. I guess you could call it entrepreneurial, although, I mean, when I started this company, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew a little bit about marketing, a little bit. I knew put an ad in the yellow pages. Well, I didn't put an ad in the yellow pages. I couldn't afford that. I put an ad in the who's who directory in the newspaper. But I just slowly learned and grew. And I guess looking back, I did have a knack for marketing, although I didn't realize it at the time. I had a knack for business. I always liked business. I always liked numbers, simple numbers, adding and subtracting, right? You can run a business, you can add and subtract, maybe a little bit of multiplication in there occasionally. But so yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur. Like I said, I used to literally bake bread. I was in high school and I baked bread and I'd go knocking on doors in New York and sell bread for $4 a loaf.
Wow.
Homemade bread. It was such an easy sale. Everybody and their brother gonna buy a loaf of bread from a kid in high school that just baked it. Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna turn you away.
Yeah, it's fresh.
It's fresh bread, yeah. So did that. Did the newspaper thing, made bracelets and sold bracelets. The newspaper thing. Can I share about the newspaper thing?
Do it.
So remember, I don't know if you're old enough, but they used to have newspaper stands in front of Kmart or
Yeah.
all of these department stores, and you'd put your 25 or 35 cents in, and you'd open up the newspaper stand and you'd grab your newspaper. Well, my buddy Travis and I, we got this. You know where I'm going with this,
Oh
right?
no.
Yep, that's exactly what we did. We got this genius idea. We put the 35 cents in the newspaper machine, and we took all of the newspapers, and we put them in a shopping cart that we took from the department store. We just went through the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, selling newspapers for 35 cents a newspaper
Yeah.
that we had just emptied out of the of the newspaper stand. Sounded like a reasonable thing to do as a 12-year-old. So
Nobody said you couldn't.
nobody said we couldn't.
How much were you selling newspapers for at that point?
I think it was 35 cents. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So basically, as long as you made one sale, you covered all of your
We'd have to make
costs.
one sale for the 35 cents that we put in the newspaper machine. Yep.
Oh man, that is hilarious.
Yeah. We used to do all kinds of stupid stuff. That's the only one I'm going to share, though. So.
All right, so it sounds like you're kind of like an always-on person. Would that be
I
correct? to
think if
assume
Kelly
that?
was sitting here, my wife, she would agree with that statement.
But you're married, you have a family, all of that, and you built a business at the same time. Um, what do you think about like work-life balance? Because I've heard that term a lot, but then there's some people, like I think it was Alex Hormozy, was talking about like you need to do something that's so closely tied to like your purpose that you don't have any balance. Like you are literally so obsessed about it that it's just basically like you're just always on.
Yeah. I don't necessarily like the term work-life balance as
Mm-hmm.
much as doing what you love slash family balance. And I know that
Yeah.
doesn't fit the mold for everybody, but I don't dread getting up on Monday morning and going to work. I love
Mm-hmm.
what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it like work. There was a time in my life when I had to work and I had to do what I love more so that it even meant sometimes sacrificing afternoons, evenings with the family because Tim was doing what he loves, which people would call work. But as the company has grown, as you know, and I'm able to step back more, I focus more on finding that balance of what I love to do and then what my family loves to do and spending that time with the family. And I don't know if I'm articulating that correctly, but I'm at the point. I'll give you an example. Last week, I was actually in Kaiser, and I was sitting at one of my rental properties. I just driven by to check on a rental property we have up there, and I was waiting to go to there's a real estate conference that I was going to be going to
Hmm.
in Salem. Great conference. I know the speaker personally. I was really excited about going to this conference. And Brendan, our youngest son, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just up here in Kaiser, just checking on a property and getting ready to go over to the conference." "Why? What's up?" He's like, "Oh, I was thinking about going golfing." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it, bud. What time are you going to be at the golf course? I'll meet you there." I have that ability, and so that's the balance.
Uh,
I want to be able to, especially at this point in my life, be able to drop whatever it is I'm doing whenever I can and say, "Oh, I have the opportunity to spend time with my family. Great, I'm going to do that." Yeah, so that's important. I think I'm gonna kind of go off on a tangent here for a second too, if you don't mind.
get it?
Digress. We actually talked about this just briefly before we got all the cameras and everything set up, but I mentioned that I had a dear friend of mine pass away
Yeah.
a month ago. Last Thursday, Peter passed away. He was 51 years old, and Peter had over 1,000 people at his funeral. He wasn't a pastor. He wasn't. He was just a normal dude. He had over 1,000 people at his funeral. Had over 200 people that viewed it online, and it's because Peter had work life, do what you love. I don't know if Peter loved what he did, but I think he enjoyed it. He had that balance down to a T. And Peter poured into the lives of everybody that he came across. They knew him very well. He was just that kind of guy, and so that's it's very fresh. It's only a month ago that this happened, but when those things happen in your life, I think, for me, I'm speaking for myself now, it kind of gives you, it's like, okay, I need to pause and reflect, like,
Mm.
where are my priorities? I actually canceled a couple of conferences after that event happened. It's like, okay, you know what? No, this conference here, shoot, you know what? I'm not going to be at this game of my, no, that one's going, you just kind of reprioritize. And going back to what I talked about earlier too, like living with purpose, living with intentionality, that's important for me. Those things weren't necessarily important, 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, sure. I think most of my kids would say you're a great dad and you spend time with your kids and you're at the games and all that sort of thing. But being able to actually live with purpose and intentionality beyond just all of this stuff
Yeah.
that we have, right? Whether it's our business, whether for me, I mentioned I love real estate, fill in the blank with whatever your passions are. We're all going to leave this earth one day and our passions are going to be left behind, but it's the imprint that we had on the people that we come across on the daily that will live on.
Yeah.
So I know that's a complete tangent, has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but
No, that's good. That's good. Um, is that what you would define as like success, or like maybe you should just define what success means for you?
I think there's so many ways you can define success. Tony Robbins would say success is doing what you want, when you want, with whoever you want, right?
Mm.
And that is one form of success, right? Um, is that success, or is success being the best dad you can possibly be, being the best husband you can possibly be? For me, what does success look like? I think it is definitely doing what I want, when I want, with who I want. Because if that's what success is, that means when the kids do call,
Yeah.
or Kelly says, "Hey, honey, let's go take this trip or do this or whatever else," like dad can say, "Yep, let's do it," because I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want,
Yeah.
which would be my family. So there's so many ways you can define success. I'll tell you what success isn't. Success is not having millions of dollars in the bank. That's not success. That's just a lot of money. That's just a rich person. And I think we've all met or known rich people, rich in the sense that they've got a ton of money in the bank. I mean, just look at Hollywood. Just look at
Yeah.
what, I mean, look at all the suicides and divorces and everything else that's going on. Well, they're successful people, right? They've got a ton of money. They make a ton of money. So that's what success isn't, definitely.
Yeah. It's good. What does your relationship with failure look like?
What does my relationship with failure look like?
You on a steady relationship,
Yeah, that's a good question.
going out steady at this point?
I've never failed in anything in my entire life, so I don't know. I'm kidding.
That's a pretty good
Yeah,
run. 30 years?
I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. Um, I wouldn't say that I embrace it, but I think if you haven't failed in a big way along your journey at some point or another, then you're probably either A, you're lying to yourself, or B,
Mm-hmm.
you're not trying. I mean, there's some things that are we talk like I could talk about business and I could share some stories where I failed in businesses. I'm thinking of a business that I purchased years ago for $15,000 when $15,000 was a lot more to me than it is now. It's still $15,000. It's still $15,000. But when I purchased this business, probably 15, 20 years ago, it was a big deal, and it was a total failure. I shut the thing down 2 days after I purchased it because I basically got nothing but a whole lot of liabilities. So that was a failure. There's been some personal failures of mine that of course I'm not going to share, but I think we need to embrace failure. We need to realize that failure sucks, but it's what happens to us when we fail, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to fail. We're all going to make mistakes that we wish we did. We're going to say things we wish we didn't say. We're going to do things that we wish we didn't do, whether they're big things, business transactions, personal things, or small. But it's what you do with that failure. Excuse me, does that failure make you bitter, or does it make you better?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make you angry, or does it give you more drive?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've got a good relationship with failure. I don't like to fail. I don't know anybody that does,
Yeah.
but when I do, I try to take lessons from it and make myself better moving forward.
I think that's what keeps like a lot of people from doing what they want to do is they're scared of failure. But it seems like the more entrepreneurs, more people that I talk to that have found success, um, the thought just keeps coming back to like, in order to get to a high level of success, you have to basically come across or go through a bunch of failures. In fact, the amount of success that you have is almost directly tied to like how many failures you've had, like how many lessons you've learned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know that I would necessarily agree with that entirely. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of successful people in life, whether you're talking monetarily or personal relationships, that haven't necessarily had large, huge failures or big failures. I think that's kind of a different journey for everyone. I think
Yeah.
there are definitely some folks that, yeah, they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and they had as many failures, even bigger failures than they did success, and everything in between. But I look at my own journey, and I'm talking, like business now. I had like I mentioned that company that I purchased. It was a failure, but it wasn't. It honestly didn't. It didn't set me back. Yeah, that was a lot of money to me back then, but it didn't set me back. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I got to work 18-hour days and I can't pay my bills and
Yeah.
on and on. It was none of that. So I think it's definitely different for everyone, but we're all going to fail to some degree or another.
All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap up here.
What time is it? You got the you
Unfortunately.
got the timepiece on
Yeah.
there.
Well, it's 1/4 till 2.
Okay. Okay.
But I have 6 rapid fire questions
Okay.
to ask. What, and these are like not serious, these are just, I listened to a podcast for a long time that had like 10 questions at the end of it, and I always enjoy looking forward to like what people had to say to these questions. But these are just very not serious, rapid fire, or you can take a while to answer them if you want.
Okay.
What is your go-to snack / drink combo at like a convenience store, gas station?
When I'm traveling, Pepsi. I don't drink soda unless I'm traveling. And if I'm
really?
on a road trip, then I'll splurge and I'll have a Pepsi. Yeah.
Not Coke?
Or Coke. Typically, I'll buy a Pepsi, but I like them both.
All right,
Yeah.
what are you eating?
And what am I eating? At a convenience store, I'm probably getting like almonds or maybe some natural jerky.
Okay.
I'm kind of a moderately health food junkie, so yeah, I'm not getting candy bars. I'm not getting, I'm not buying probably 90% of the stuff at the convenience store.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Would you consider Honey Nut Cheerios breakfast soup?
No, but my son Brendan definitely would. I can't tell you the last time I had a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios, but I can tell you the last time Brendan did. It was this morning. I watched him eat them.
All right, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes, it does. I like pineapple and ham pizza.
Good. So in your opinion, who's the greatest music artist of all time?
Oh man, greatest music artist of all time.
It could just be your favorite. I mean, we could get technical with all the fundamentals and stuff.
Tough one, dude. I don't know. I don't want to say Elvis Presley because that's just, and I don't even like most of his music, so I'm not going to go there. Who's gosh dang it. He played like classical. My wife listens to him when she's cooking in the kitchen. It's Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with Frank Sinatra.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. What is something that most people don't know about you?
I think you asked me this question last time too, didn't you? And was my answer I'm afraid of the dark?
I can't,
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Well, that's my answer this time. Yeah, I'm afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
I've always been afraid of the dark since I was a kid, and I have to I love to hunt.
Okay.
And when I get up at dark 30 and I'm walking through the woods by myself, it's like, okay, when's the villain gonna jump out at me? Even though I know there are no villains, but yeah, I don't like being in, if I'm my dark room. I'm not that afraid of the dark. Let's just clarify. I don't sleep with the light on. I don't sleep with a night light. I'm afraid of the dark in the woods at night alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. If I watch a slightly scary movie and then it's like, get up to go to bed or whatever, walk around the house, and there's just somebody like peeking in the windows in a movie.
Where's the boogeyman?
I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
I'm looking for him.
Because he's definitely there.
He's definitely there. People in the movie didn't see it until it was too late. I'm not going to be one of them.
Right?
All right, last question here. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be? All the way up to the current day.
Anyone from history, Jesus Christ.
Why is that?
Well, he's my Lord and Savior. I'm going to live with him in heaven someday, but I mean, if I could have dinner with him here now on earth, that'd be kind of cool. Ask him a bunch of questions.
Think that'd be a game changer?
Probably would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And
the sound is on this time, right? We don't have
the sound is on. Let's see. Check. Yeah,
We're good.
I
We're
plugged it
golden.
this time. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you around.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you like what you've seen, please leave us a like. Please subscribe to our channel. And we'd love to hear what you're thinking, so leave a comment down below.